It's only in unhealthy society that the medium is the message, as McLuhan says. In a healthy society, I would claim, the medium is the story. All right? So the message is actually a tear in the medium, or a tear in society, if you wish. The message is, again, something that divides. It's a disruption of the story. It's a disruption of the fabric of society, of human unification. Greetings, this is Eugene the Philosopher, the greatest living philosopher after the unfortunate passing of Quentin Robert D. Nameland, who has been the greatest living philosopher before me. In this video, I want to make a big distinction between a story and the message. So, as McLuhan famously said, the medium is the message, and I would claim that this is the problem of modern culture in the first place, of modern society, if you wish. So, let's talk about the story first, or at least like what I would understand as the story, and then we'll talk about the message, and then we'll sum it all up, like how did we arrive to the situation that we did arrive to? Okay, so what I would understand as a story is something like immersive, almost like a pool. Like you can experience it almost like the atmosphere around you, you know? So in a story, you have like, the story is something kind of like objective almost. And by story, I mean like, well, imagine some random myth from Greek mythology, for example. That would be a typical example of a story. So what do you have in a story is like a bunch of characters, they'll do something, blah, blah, blah. But there is also a narrator. By the way, watch my video, Nature of Knowledge, where I talk about this in more detail. And also mythology as a cultural basis. So there are characters, they do something. There's also a narrator who tells the story. There are also listeners, the audience who listen to the story, etc. So, and it just kind of happens, you know. There is no subjectivity here. In some sense, the story is actually very factual, you know, it just kind of happens. Compared to the message, which we're going to address in the second half of this video. So the story has a place for everyone. You can be one of the characters, you can be the listener, you can be the narrator, you can be whatever you want, really. You can be maybe the writer of the story, okay? So the storytelling, the story itself, it underlines our nature as human beings. And it is supposed to be relatable. So again, everyone can find their place in it. So while we are telling the stories, we are part of some sort of a community, you know. We are part of the same event, if you want to call it that. The same process at the very least. The same process of human civilization. And the story has its characters, they have their archetypes, obviously, I mean, and they're all relatable. So each one of us have these traits that these characters demonstrate to this degree or another, right? In this way, story binds people together, right? So it's either literally like when this event of storytelling is happening, like, you know, around the proverbial bonfire or campfire, you know, in tribal era, or in a theater, like in a more, you know, like a classical Greek tragedies or comedies, etc. It binds people together because there is this story and we're part of it in some way or another. Obviously, all of these traits that I was talking about are hyperbolized in comedies, for example, but they're still recognizable, and we still all have them to this degree or another, right? So, once again, to sum it all up, like the story is something that binds society together because it just kind of happens, and you may wish to willfully join it and to become a part of the story in this way or another, in this respect or another, and therefore become a part of this society, which is sort of like revolves around this particular story, or maybe this corpus of stories, you know, this bunch of stories, right? Like Greek mythologies, again, a very classical example of this. Unification, you may call it. All right, and like, if we look at architecture and music, for example, you may ask, like, why are both garbage now? All right, and by the way, I have a video specifically about art. Why is modern art so bad, or something like that, I've called it. See the link in the description. So let's talk about music and architecture. These are like immersive arts, you may call them. just like storytelling is in the first place, all right? So storytelling may be a bit more specific because it has like, a certain topic it talks about, a certain story it actually tells about. But still, like architecture, again, as Goethe famously said, it's just a frozen music. So architecture evolves from the spirit of music, just like the story itself evolves from the spirit of music. Again, see Nietzsche's genius work, The Birth of Tragedy, from the spirit of music, literally. So yeah, so these things are kind of the same if you think about it, the story, the music, and architecture as like an ossified, solidified form of both of those things, okay? And by the way, once again, I'm sorry for so many references. Watch my video, Give Them a False Exit, where I talk about how music, again, kind of parroting both Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, how music may be the thing, to know the truth, etc., etc., etc. But anyway, as much as people are talking about tribalism right now, this is almost the exact opposite of what I'm talking about here, about tribalism as in regards to a certain story. Because what I'm talking about is that, about tribalism in a way that, like, we are being a part of a tribe, where a tribe is centered around this campfire, around this storytelling process, around the story, again, what I call in this video at least. Rather than, again, being an enemy of another tribe, which is how tribalism is understood today, where people are divided in these small groups which hate each other, essentially. This is what tribalism is today, whereas what I'm talking about is the opposite process, the process of unification around the story. So we've talked about the story and how has been actually, arguably, the main vehicle of human unification throughout many thousands of years, actually, all right? And religion is just one version of the story, it's just one way of telling the story, or again, many ways if you consider that there are many religions. Anyway, it's just the story. And again, religion, just like any story, leads to music, and it also leads to architecture, right? Now let's talk about the message, which is everywhere now, right? Right now we have a culture of the message instead of the culture of the story, which we've previously had pretty much throughout all of human history, besides the last 100 years or so. So message is exactly what one tribe, for example, may send to another. Message is the mark of distinction. So if in the story we were, like, the very fact that the story is happening or being told or being listened to or being played on stage, it unifies people. Here, the message separates people because we have a sender of a message and a receiver of the message. And they're like, almost like violently like torn apart, they're separate entities now. So this is the ultimately the division process rather than unification. So story provides us unification. The message provides us the division. All right. Like one tribe can tell another, like, we are different from you in this and this and this respect. And this would be the message, right? Like, look at me, I am so different. And isn't this exactly the basis of modern culture, where, for example, we have 50 million new genders, right, appearing on stage and saying, look at me, I'm so different. This would be the message, all right? Or, again, even old genders, aka feminism, also showing how different they are from humans, essentially, right? They're saying, I'm not human, I'm a woman, first and foremost. And only then I'm a human, okay? So they're sending a message, okay? They're all sending a message. It's all about sending a message, of course, right? And it's obviously a symptom of atomization of society. Again, why would you overforce this tool of division, which is the message? Because, again, you're breaking the society down. You're breaking it down into pieces rather than unifying it around the story, all right? Just like previously. So social media, with attention being its main resource, by the way, watch my video about attention, the recent one. So social media with attention being its main resource, becomes obsessed with the message again versus the story. Because people are all trying to be as distinct from one another as possible. They're trying to distance themselves from the story. And again, it ruins the society, kind of tears the fabric of society up completely, all right? So now binding is only possible in exactly that, in very small groups, each one of which sends their own message, okay? That's what ultimately, like we've asked, like why is architecture and music are so garbage right now? Well, that's what makes music impossible, because music has to be universal in order to work. So it can be like achieved, this universal character of music, in the framework of the story, or around the story, or before or after the story, or during the story, but it cannot be achieved during or after or before or with the message. It just doesn't work as an art form then. It would be crap. And it is crap, just like we observe right now. So in general, you may say that life has lost its meaning in modern society. Again, returning to my videos about, you know, spirituality, the recent ones, you know, about religion and stuff. Like it's because we've disconnected from the world of meaning, therefore life has no meaning right now, right? And humanity has lost the story. That's, you know, with the same message, pun intended, with the vocabulary used in this video previously. So humanity has lost the story. And that's how architecture died, and a bit later music died. And why am I saying later? Well, it's because, well, first of all, you can actually observe it, okay? And second of all, like Nietzsche actually talked about this in his book about Wagner, where he says that music is actually the last art to appear. Like he almost literally says that music is always the swan song, if that's an expression in English, of any culture it represents, okay? So first you have some other arts developing, and the music comes last. You know, after pretty much the whole of this subculture, or whatever it's representing, has already well developed and sort of like fleshed out. Only then the music can be formulated around it. But that's how it works societally. I'm not saying that fundamentally, ontologically, philosophically, music comes after. It actually, again, precedes, paradoxically, like whatever happens elsewhere. Just again, as Nietzsche himself said in The Birth of Tragedy, from the Spirit of Music, and many other works. So yeah. So today we're living in the heaps of garbage, essentially, like our cities are heaps of garbage, and we're listening to some absolute dystopian crap. So both architecture and music are dead. Why is that? Well, because we got rid of the story. We are all about the message right now. The universality is lost, all right? The humanness, the humanity of a human being is lost. We are not human anymore because there is no story that can make us human, that can unify us as humans, all right? So, yeah, but, hey, at least we're sending a message, you know, so I guess it's cool now, okay? And then some people are complaining that right now we're in a crisis of mental health, etc., etc. I'll probably record a short talking about this expression, mental health, which I really hate, but anyway, for the sake of, this discussion, let's use it. So mental health issues, like why do they arise? It's very mysterious, right? I wonder why that is the case. Let's just like embrace the demons. Let's promote as much chaos as we can into our society. You know, like let's get rid of all the unifying factors. Let's get rid of all the meaning, and then be surprised that everything is falling apart and people have troubles even, you know, finding a reason to live, you know. Like, it's really strange, right? It's really bizarre that this is happening. Sarcasm, by the way. So, yeah. So, to conclude this, again, returning to this opposition of the story and the message, I would claim that it's only in unhealthy society that the medium is the message, as McLuhan says. In a healthy society, I would claim the medium is the story. All right? So, the message is actually a tear in the medium. Or a tear in society, if you wish. The message is, again, something that divides. It's a disruption of the story. It's a disruption of the fabric of society, of human unification. An interruption, if you wish. A next TikTok recommendation on your feed, or Twitter post, you know. So the message to the story is what basically like something like a bright X-ray flash is to a steady, nurturing sunlight, you know, something like a solar flare versus the regular sunlight. This is the message to the story. Yeah. Hopefully you can see what I'm talking about. And in the next video, I can actually spoil it right away. I'll expand on this a little bit, but from a slightly different perspective. Like, we'll talk about modernity, how it's lost its story, how it entangled, separated itself from the world of meaning, and how it's not sustainable, let's put it this way. Old man yelling at cloud once again. Thank you for watching. The eons are closing.
If you wish to support me, please consider joining my Patreon. That is patreon.com/philosopher. See the link in the description. Or if you have a scientific theory of your own and you'd like my help in developing it, please join my alternative science coaching program, also available through Patreon.